Hey Tudor, how you doing? You've added a new watch to your BlackBay collection. The chronograph, yeah, I've already had that. You've done a dive watch. The ceramic, yeah, I've had that too. BlackBay 58. Right, oh, the silver. It's a gold color, right. I'm not a massive fan of the green dial, if I'm honest. It just doesn't, oh, you've got a brown dial now, in bronze. Sorry, you've launched another BlackBay. Welcome back to Bark and Jack, I'm Adrian, and this channel is just about drinking coffee, talking watches, putting gloves on. Today we need gloves because we're looking at a bronze watch. Now it's quite obvious that Tudor are going after Omega with the whole Meta certified battle around the movements, but it also now looks like they're trying to take Omega's crown for having the most variations of the same watch. Today we are looking at the bronze, the all bronze BlackBay 58. I've been sent some gloves because, as you know, bronze watches patina extremely quickly. They might look nice and shiny in the shot, but give it a week or two and that shininess will really dull down. In fact, this watch already looks as if it isn't brand new bronze. You might be wondering why this isn't ticking, and that's because this is just a dummy watch. Which is annoying because for me, one of the biggest things that I enjoy about watches is the movement, is the ticking, and that's part of the aesthetic. But then on the other hand, when it comes to taking photographs, it's amazing having a watch that is constantly set to the most Instagrammable time. I won't be taking you through the specs of this watch because it is exactly the same as the normal BlackBay, apart from the movement. The movement in this is the MT5400 as opposed to the MT5402. The only difference being that it has a slightly wider base plate, which allows the movement to visually fill the case better, but this doesn't have a display case back, so that doesn't really matter. But apart from that and the clasp, it is exactly the same. This is Tudor's first all bronze watch with a bronze head and a bronze bracelet. The bracelet will tarnish your wrist because of the discoloration that happens with bronze. That's just how it is. This bronze is Tudor's alloy. It's a mix of aluminium and bronze, and they market this as a case that changes with you, as in it grows along with your journey of the watch. I'm not a massive fan of bronze. I like how it does mature and change and does get a patina, but for me personally, it's not something that I would go out and buy. But apart from that, it is the colorway, the dial and the clasp that stand out on this watch. And this leads me into a bit of speculation around what Tudor are up to. Let's talk about the watch first before we talk about the speculation. I guess the first two things to mention about the watch is, one's positive, and that it's only £3,390, but the second point is a tricky one. You can only buy this from Tudor boutiques, and there really aren't many in the world. Most of them are in Hong Kong, China, Europe, there's one in London, and in the States there are none. But I have heard that there's going to be one opening in New York very soon. The BlackBay range as a whole has been tapping into the whole vintage inspired theme that's been going around the watch industry, and in particular it's getting inspiration from vintage Submariners. This is carrying on with that theme. But interestingly, I do think these numerals, the way that they are so rounded, the way that they are so clean, it actually adds a slightly more modern touch to the overall aesthetic of the watch. All of that stuff is just aesthetics and does change the look of the watch, in some cases quite drastically, but there is a big difference within the functionality of this watch, and that is in the clasp. One, the clasp looks absolutely brilliant. There's slight design changes. The middle section is raised. It's as if it's in three parts, carrying on the design of the bracelets. I do like the fact it's more boxy as opposed to having the shield bottom part to the clasp. But the biggest update is fixing one of the biggest weaknesses within the BlackBay range, and that is the lack of on-the-fly bracelet extension. We now have an on-the-fly micro adjustment system built into the clasp, which is very nicely executed. It's a spring-loaded system and it locks into place. We have 8mm of adjustment. I say that as if I'm quite excited about 8mm. 8mm I think is quite poor considering the Rolex equivalent has 20mm of bracelet extension. It still fixes a big flaw of the original BlackBay range, and it also brings a watch more in line with pretty much every single other dive watch that's on the market. It is now very common for dive watches to come with a form of bracelet extension. It also comes on a Tudor NATO strap as well. And it is really interesting how much of a difference a strap can make to a watch. The difference in styling that's coming off both of these watches simply by changing the strap is really quite drastic. The all bronze comes across as quite flashy and in your face with all of this bronze goldy color happening here. And then you put it on the NATO strap and it just calms it down massively. And annoyingly, I keep trying to sell my BlackBay 58, but I've just launched a new strap that is stopping me from doing that because it's just changed the aesthetic completely. I have a real thing for gold watches. I really want to get a two-tone, at least a two-tone sports watch, but I'd actually really like to get an all gold sports watch. There's just something about it that, one, it looks amazing, but two, it feels great as well. This ticks a lot of those boxes. It isn't gold, it doesn't feel like gold, it doesn't have the weight of gold, and it doesn't have the shininess of gold, but the aesthetics is incredibly similar. I get the same feeling of this looks cool looking down at it as I do a gold watch, but that's with it being in this state. And that's my challenge around bronze watches, is that the watch you try on in the AD isn't gonna be the watch that's gonna be your watch. At least that's how I look at it. This watch is gonna change over time, and that can be a plus or a minus. It all depends on what you want the watch to be. For me, if I like the look of a watch, I want to like that look of a watch, as opposed to, I like it now, but I'm not entirely sure what it's gonna be 6 months down the line. That would be my challenge around this. That being said, when this does tarnish and it does patina, it's incredibly easy to remove the patina and get it back to exactly what you're looking at right now. So my speculation around what I think is going on. This is the 4th BlackBay that's been launched this year. And each one that's been launched has had something new, something different about it. Not in a massive way, but just little drops of this is slightly different. Now that could just simply be a commercial decision of, we have something great and let's spread it out and make more money from this great product. But I actually think it's something deeper than that. I think this is Tudor testing the water with little changes. Launching silver and gold versions of a very affordable watch is an interesting move for a brand that is supposed to be the everyday person's premium brand, luxury brand. It's not supposed to be full luxury, and going gold and silver, that's pretty much full luxury. They then launched a ceramic watch with a new movement inside, a META certified movement, which again, I feel like they were testing the market with that. And now they're launching a new watch in all bronze with a new clasp and new colorways that they haven't done before. All of these watches that they've sold are gonna be on lower numbers than normal BlackBays, than the normal steel blue or steel black BlackBay 58s. The silver one isn't gonna cater for the mass market. The gold one, not everyone is gonna be able to afford. The same for the black ceramic. They mentioned themselves that this is gonna be a limited production number, not limited by total number or distribution, but limited by the fact that they are relatively tricky to make, and so they can't make as many of those as they can with the steel versions. The same goes for this bronze. One, the bronze isn't going to cater for everyone's taste, and two, you can only get this from Tudor boutiques. So I'm speculating that all of these watches were created to purposely be low production. Rolex do exactly the same when they create new production methods or introduce new colorways. They often do it in the precious metals, possibly to test the market, but possibly to see if they can get the production level to a point where it can be mass production. Patek do the same when they launch new movements. They often launch new movements in women's watches. When they're happy with the performance, happy with production, they then launch the movement in the higher demand men's watches. So I'm speculating that at some point, either this year or maybe next year, we're going to see a big watch being launched. Not just a couple of little tweaks, but something with all of these elements coming into play. Maybe we're gonna get a new Tudor META certified BlackBay 58 GMT in multiple colorways. We could get the Pepsi colorway, and then we could also get the root beer colorway. Perhaps have a bimetal or all gold GMT. One of my favorite modern Rolexes is the Root Beer GMT Master 2. I love the tones of browns going on with the actual brown, and then we have the gold browniness in the background. All of that I think is a stunning combination, and maybe that's what's going to come over to Tudor and the BlackBay range. just in the same way that they did the Pepsi. I don't actually think this is speculation. I think I'm just sharing what I'd like them to do and trying to create some sort of justification as why it would be logical for them to do it. What are your thoughts? What are your thoughts on this watch? And what are your thoughts on all of these little micro releases? Literally micro releases. What would you like to see them create? Drop your thoughts in the comments down below. If you like this video, hit that thumbs up button. If you like the style of this video, hit the subscribe button down there and that little bell icon so you get notifications when I drop a new video. If you want to check out the watch straps and watch accessories, jump over to barkandjack.com. We also have a blog over there. And if you're on Instagram, give me a follow at barkandjack. And I'll see you guys next time. Take care.